you already got to the final lesson of this module. A dispatcher must be knowledgeable of the documentation of a trucking company. The good news is that there is nothing complicated about these documents at all. Working with documentation takes no more than 10% of a dispatcher's total work time. In the next module, when we get to the lesson on filling out paperwork for booking freight, we'll talk in more detail about contracts between the broker and the motor carrier, freight documents, way bills, and so on. In order for you to understand perfectly what we're talking about in that future lesson, we're going to take a quick look at the documents that every trucking company is required to have. These are the very documents that you will get from your new customer or employer when you start working with them. First of all, any trucker who owns a 10,000 pounds truck or larger and wants to transport freight between US states is required to have a DOT number and an MC number. The DOT number is a unique identification of the motor carrier registration with the US Department of Transportation. The FC number, or motor carrier number, is also a state operating license and a unique identifier assigned to transportation companies moving freight across state lines by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, FMCSA. Both the DOT number and the MC number can be found in a single document, called the MC certificate. This is a federal document that certifies a trucking company's compliance with the Code of Federal Regulations. This document certifies that the designated MC number is valid and belongs to the designated carrier in accordance with all operational and insurance requirements. The original of this document must be kept by the owner of the company, and a copy must be kept by each driver. The dispatcher will just need an electronic copy to forward to the broker when completing agreements. The next mandatory document is the Certificate of Insurance, abbreviated as COI. Before starting operations, the motor carrier must obtain an insurance policy. The Certificate of Insurance proves the existence of the policy and the terms of insurance. This document includes the following key information: the name and address of the insurance provider, name and address of the company that is insured, policy number, terms of insurance, types of insurance, coverage dollar amount, and additional insured parties. The minimum insurance policy requirements for carriers is $750,000 in automotive liability coverage and $100,000 in cargo liability coverage. Automotive liability protects the carrier from claims from third parties as a result of an accident, and cargo liability insures the freight that's being transported. The third most important document that every carrier and his or her dispatcher must have in order to work is a W-9 tax form. When you fill out a contract between your carrier and the broker you want to take the load from, you will definitely need to exchange these tax forms. What information is on the W-9 form? The first line shows the name of the company, the official name of the legal entity. Then the other name of the firm. It's used if the carrier operates under a brand name. Number 3 is the type of legal entity. Could be a sole proprietorship, limited liability company, corporation, and so on. Next, address where the company is registered. And the most important one is the tax number. Since all parties of agreement between the carrier and the broker are registered legal entities, they all have a tax number called an employer identification number. The exchange of tax numbers is the main reason for exchanging W-9 forms. Employer identification number, or EIN for short, is a unique 9-digit number assigned by the Internal Revenue Service to businesses for identification purposes. You as a dispatcher don't have to fill out these documents. Just like the MC certificate and certificate of insurance, you will receive these documents from the carrier before starting the operation, and you will use them for booking freight. It's as simple as that. But there is one more document we need to talk about today. But before we do, a little preface. In the trucking industry, according to standard payment terms, the carrier is paid by freight broker for the services rendered up to 30 days after the load has been delivered and invoice had been submitted to the broker. 30 days! This is a rather controversial practice because carriers need to pay for fuel and pay the drivers in advance. They need to incur all the risks associated with transporting, and then they have to wait a whole month to get paid. But, as the song goes, it is what it is. Not every small carrier has so much operating funds to wait for all the payments. This phenomenon has created a huge demand in this industry for the services of factoring companies. Essentially, factoring companies are banks that buy accounts receivables from carriers. They pay the money up front and then themselves wait for the delayed payment from the broker. In simple terms, they pay the carrier, take a small percentage, and then wait those 30 days for payment from the broker themselves. Kind of like a quick loan. If the motor carrier you are working with uses a factoring company, the broker you sign a contract with should be aware of this because he will have to pay to the factoring company and not the carrier directly. That's why a document confirming the relationship with the factoring company is also on the list of required documents that you should have with you before starting to work with each new carrier. Such a document is called Notice of Assignment, or NOA for short. A Notice of Assignment is a document used to inform debtors that a third party has bought their debt. So, that's it. All we have to do is to summarize. We've learned about 3 major documents which every carrier must have and must make available to their dispatcher in the form of an electronic copy. MC certificate, certificate of insurance, and a W-9 tax form. Plus Notice of Assignment, the 4th document you need if your carrier cooperates with a factoring company. Samples of these documents are made available for your review in the materials attached to this module. I'm glad you made it through this module. There was a lot of basic but extremely important information that will help you further in your learning process. We're gonna step away from the theoretical for a while and get deeper into the practical. I have a feeling that you're gonna love the next module. Don't forget to complete your homework, and I'll be waiting for you in Module 3.